What if you made silence to where, you know what? Technically, you're silenced. You don't get to use first, second, third skill or rage skills. What if silence stopped their rage bar from filling altogether? I mean, they're silenced, right? So they wouldn't be able to chant their mantra and cast their spells and stuff. Stop it from filling attack bar. You know, make silence do something extra. Like, since Provoke does all these extra things, make silence do something extra to give people a reason to build miles. Okay, this is a hot topic, like, under the surface for way too long, right? So let's just go ahead and nip some things in the butt real quick, right? Butt, what do? You nip it in the butt? I don't know. We're gonna nip its butt. Let's do it now. Provoke in this game, okay? Go ahead, get your dislikes in now. Go ahead. If Magnus is your main build and Provoke is what carries you in all PvP content in the game, go ahead and dislike the video. I don't give a shit. At least once a week is somebody pointing out how Provoke is like stupid overpowered in this game, right? Well, here's the problem with trying to point that out, okay? There's a few people that have a very strong presence in like the global Discord and very strong opinions about why Provoke is so strong in this game. And the defense I see is, oh, well, Provoke works differently in this game. Not everything has to work the same in every game. So, like with a lot of stupid bullshit, let's go ahead and break this down a step at a time. Before we get into any opinion, we are taking emotion and taking emotion out of this equation 100%, okay? Looking at this, Provoke, okay? A target under Provoke status will attack the Provoker with the first skill. Okay, so we know Provoke stops the enemy from controlling their character, stops them from selecting their abilities, forces their hand to attack the Provoker with the first skill. Okay, so tell me now, because that is also an area of effect that hits a very large area, tell me, what is the point of this silence? A target under silence status can only use the first skill, okay? It is specifically stopping them from using any other abilities, only using first skill, such as Provoke, stopping the enemy from using any other abilities, only using first skill. But this has also turned into a movement crowd control that you now have lost complete control of your character. Anyone not using Magnus who has been AoE provoked in the arena knows that once that skill goes off, you are no longer participating in the arena. The arena is auto-playing itself for you because you have no decision-making whatsoever from that point that you were provoked. You cannot use rage skills, you cannot pass your turn, you cannot choose where you want to move, you have no options. You are at that point when that skill goes off, you are tunnel visioned. You might as well go make a smoothie in your kitchen because no control whatsoever. There's no point in even touching your phone. Once the Provoke is off, just put your phone down because literally you have absolutely no say in anything that anyone on your team is doing. Okay, now before we get into how this works in most games, let's go ahead and talk about why people are so adamant that this not be changed and that it's completely fine the way it is. Both, community managers and people who solely rely on Magnus in order to progress in arena and progress in PvP, their argument is, well, we do things differently in this game. Not everything has to be the same in every game. Okay, you know what? I will agree with that to a point. I'll just pull an example, Pokemon typing, okay? Using the 3 starters, I'm sure everyone can relate. Okay, in Pokemon typing, fire beats grass, grass beats water, water beats fire. What if I told you there are other games out there where the opposite is true? Where fire will beat water, where water will beat grass, and where grass will beat fire. What if I told you that is a real thing that actually exists? Because it is, that is totally a thing. And you know why you don't know about the game I'm talking about? Because it was interesting for like 2 days, but it's not what people are used to. Here's the thing about being like a long-term gamer, right? Taunt, Provoke, all of these status effects have been in games since they were first introduced in probably like some game in like 1999, right? So we've grown accustomed to a Provoke, meaning that you are tunnel locked and can only attack the Provoker. So now if you want to come in and then change the rules and make it to where your Provoke is both a silence and both a Provoke, and you lose control of all control, it's basically like 4 status effects in one. It's a Provoke and a silence. I won't say it's a stun because they still get to use first skill, but I mean, it's basically like a fear, a loss of control. It has the provoke effects. It has loss of control effects. It has silence effects. It has, you know, way too many effects just for one status ailment. So people will continue to complain about this, okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, it's stupid annoying. If you're fighting a Magnus and you don't have a Magnus built, it's one of the most dumb, stupid, annoying status ailments, overpowered abilities you'll ever see. On the other end of that spectrum, if you've gone ahead and taken all your time, all your resources and everything and built up Magnus because this provoke is overpowered, then it's going to suck for those people if it got a nerf. So that's why people are so adamantly defending it, being like, no, it works as intended. You can't change it, because their entire strategy and all of their time has been put into like relying on this one ability. Which is the problem with a lot of games, right? There's like a scale of how useful something can be. Something can be a little bit overtuned and, you know, you can slide with it. But whenever something just absolutely dominates the meta, like, look, you cannot go in the arena and tell me that something used this often that 100% practically guarantees you a top 50 ranking is not a little bit OP, okay? Magnus. Where? Magnus. Literally all down the list, people rely on Magnus. It's absolutely a dominating factor that people you will have never heard of will be carried to the top 50 just because they have Magnus on their team. Let's look at some teams that we can probably agree should not be in the top 50, but are in the top 50 because they have a Magnus. Look at this dude, right? We have, I'm just going to go ahead and gray out the name because people are so dang sensitive. You can't say anything without pissing somebody off. This person is using 2 tanks and 3 supports. They have no kill potential whatsoever. Do you know how they're winning fights? If I fought this guy, I guarantee you I would lose, because Magnus is probably overtuned for speed so that he can get off the provoke. Your entire team is forced to attack the Magnus. He has provoke on multiple skills, and provoke is so strong that once he gets that ability off, all he has to do is press auto. You cannot kill that Magnus with 3 supports on this team. He has no kill condition on this team. He has no damage. He has no threats, really. There isn't any threat on this team. The only threat is the provoke ability. 100% guaranteed, if provoke was not in this team's like ability composition, this would not even come close to number 10. It would be number 5,000. The only reason it's working is because of provoke. One more example. 2 more examples, actually, right here in front of our eyes. Number 7 and number 8, okay? So we have 1 kill potential on both teams, Trevor. Trevor is our only kill potential on these teams. So, that being said, if you were able to kill this Trevor, you won, right? Well, actually wrong, because the only thing they're relying on is their Magnus getting turn 1, provoking your enemy team so that this Trevor just basically has the rest of the match to whittle you down a person at a time. There's no way that you can beat this, that you can't beat it. If the Magnus goes first, you lose. Even if their only kill potential is Trevor. You could bring Farius, you could bring the strongest attackers in the game, you could bring the people with the highest multipliers, best combos. It doesn't matter at all, because you're 100% forced to first skill a tank with 3 supports backing up the tank. It's ridiculously overpowered. And I am not saying this for my own health. If we see, I was able to hit number 4. Magnus is not even in my roster. My Magnus is level 40. This isn't for me, right? This is simply for the reason, at least once a week or once every 2 weeks, someone joins the official Discord and they're like, yo, provoke is stupid OP. And then they're just immediately shut down by an entire just diatribe wall of text defending why provoke is fine the way it is, even though it's not. So, instead of ruining these people's lives by nerfing Magnus and nerfing provoke, there's got to be a middle ground, right? There's a few ideas I have that could actually make this fair, okay? First off, I don't even know how silence competes to provoke. It's basically, it only has one effect that provoke has, and if you have provoke, there's no reason to have silence. Buff, silence, okay? Give units with silences a running chance to compete with the provokers. Like, again, if you're going to be unorthodox and say, oh, well, our provoke does all this thing just because we're so quirky and that's how we wanted it in our game, do that with silence. Provoke doesn't have to be the only quirky ability that you have being OP. What if you made silence to where, you know what? technically you're silenced. You don't get to use first, second, third skill or rage skills. What if silence stopped their rage bar from filling altogether? I mean, they're silenced, right? So they wouldn't be able to chant their mantra and cast their spells and stuff. Stop it from filling attack bar. You know, make silence do something extra. Like, since Provoke does all these extra things, make silence do something extra to give people a reason to build miles. Okay? Give more units, buff more units with silence, you know? We don't have that many silence units. Buff silence, give it some more units. Maybe somebody whose first skill does basically nothing, like Robin, inflicts damage and knocks them back a little bit, inflicts bonus damage when they're blind. What if this silenced? You know, what if that was an ability that silenced? There's a lot of abilities that really suck that you could just put a silence on them, buff up silence, and then now people are more tempted to build more things. The arena isn't just constantly Magnus, Magnus, Magnus over and over and over. What if we had immunity? Okay, so I'm pretty sure, actually, Popo right now with our third skill is our only immunity against weakening effects for 3 turns, right? So where's our Chloe? You know, in Summoners War, we have an area of effect caster that puts on not only damage ignore on our whole team, but it puts on immunity. That's kind of what this is, right? So why can't he have an area of effect immunity? So that way it's going to be Popo speed versus Magnus speed. It's not just going to be, oh, Popo was able to put immunity on 1 unit. It's going to be, oh, Popo got turn 1 before Magnus. Now the Provoke does nothing. You know, where's our stuff like that? We could have some more ways to put immunity on our units, and that would be fine. You know, defense break isn't even really meta in this game. Defense break is meta in like every other game. You know what? I'll give you this. If you want to be different from other games, you really nailed it with this game, because literally everything is different than how it is in other games. Tala's crit rate buff is not, you know, 30% like it is in every other game. In this game, it's 40%. Invincibility in this game is called damage ignore, and it lasts multiple turns. You've already hit the mark of being different, okay? So if you're going to continue to strive for that path, not that I'm knocking that. I know it might sound like I'm talking shit, but I'm not. I'm just saying you're pissing people off, and like I'm the only one standing up for this shit, because someone comes in the Discord and they're like, hey man, that's a little strong. Maybe I'll put in a suggestion that it should be nerfed. They're immediately hit with a wall of text basically telling them to shut the fuck up. They don't want to play your game anymore, right? Your community is already toxic as shit, dude. It's weird. Sometimes I come off as the toxic one, but the thing is, I'm actually doing what I'm doing for the well-being of everyone involved. Not, you know, I'm not about buffing up the significant few, right? I'm not that YouTuber that put out a tier list day 1 and put a bunch of shitty units at the top so that, because I knew which units to actually be built. The second I was like, okay, no tier list until we actually know what people are doing. So you have all these people building tier lists from YouTubers, from units that suck. Pretty sure Magnus was like a D in your tier list. How is he D if he's just like literally carrying everybody and he's such a big deal that no one can stand for nerf to him? Buff other things. What if we had an equipment and that equipment gave us an effect that for 1 turn at start match, we had immunity already on our units, a 2-set or something, you know? That way you don't have to, even if the Magnus takes turn 1, then you basically just countered it by having a certain equipment set. Every single piece of equipment is a stat boost. HP, crit rate, pen rate, defense, accuracy, resistance, speed, attack, crit damage, and then you have one equipment that has a little bit of something going on, a little bit of extra effect. Whereas you could have a piece of equipment to increase immunity for a turn. You could have a piece of equipment that puts on an area of effect shield on your team for a turn. You could have equipment that buffs all ally stats, like maybe something to increase all ally stats by 4% instead of your own defense by a certain percent, you know? You could have something like that so that units can help buff up and try and counter this meta, okay? Has there ever been someone number 1 who didn't get number 1 with Magnus? I'm sure maybe once there was, right? That being said, if you're that one person that was able to hit the number 1 slot without Magnus, how many Magnuses did you have to fight to get to that point? There are so many ways that you could make it fair without having to nerf the Magnus, without having to, you know, ruin the progress of everyone that built Magnus. You know, it's okay to build up a counter, you know? Who are these absolutely useless mercenaries right now? Craig, okay, I'll go ahead and say it. No one's using Craig. If you're using Craig, then there's no way you're anywhere near where anyone else is. Buff up Craig to where whenever someone's standing in the magma or something, they're silenced, and buff up silence. I'm just using silence as an example a lot, but all I'm saying is that it's totally fine to accept criticism from players, especially because a lot of suggestions suck, okay? I'll give you that. And the suggestions channel, some of them are bullshit, but calling out the people with actual suggestions because it doesn't benefit you. There's a lot of manipulation in games like this, right? YouTubers manipulating tier lists, them getting paid to tell you to buy a pack that sucks just so that you could benefit the company and the company could make some money. There's a lot of sneakiness, okay? You should probably actually put some faith into your in-game suggestions. Maybe we could put in a rage card, you know, that grants immunity to our whole team from effects for a turn. But when was the last? I don't think we've even had added rage cards since the game started. Add some rage cards, dude. There's like not enough. I have, oh my god, so many possibilities, right? How about a unit like the Spider Queen in Calibria Crystal Guardians, or the Dragon Knight in Summoner's War that stops attack speed from being the defining factor? With those units, they always move first, and attack speed is just limited to their attack speed. So it's them first and then turn orders. So that way you can throw in some more meta. You know, you can throw off the speed meta. The speed meta in this game, dude, is absolutely dumb, okay? If you're doing Madeline, Ziv, Farius combo, and you got the speed for it, you win. If you just have Magnus on your team and you got the speed for it, you win. It's boring, dude. That's like, come on. There's so many other ways that we could implement features into the game, stats into the game, new rage cards to help, you know, give us a little bit more variety in our game style instead of everyone being a slave to farming dash equipments constantly. And there's so many people, I get this question all the time. How do you beat speed meta? Is there a way to beat speed meta? Do you think that you could build tanky enough to beat speed meta? It's like, no. You can't, because literally the second someone gets off a provoke, you just might as well throw your phone in the trash and walk away. That's going to do it for this. I could actually go on about this for an hour. If you have suggestions too on a way to counter like this meta or implement a change into the game to make the provoke meta less viable without nerfing provoke, right? Because it's going to piss off people that built Magnus to nerf provoke. Drop the comment and I'll put it in the suggestions channel because I'll absolutely take the heat from it. Like, y'all don't have to take the heat. If you have a suggestion you want in that channel, drop it to me. If I like it, I'll drop it in the channel and I'll take the heat because you literally can't post anything in there without someone jumping all up in your shit. That being said, you can join my Discord. Actually, we have new players, veteran players in there alike. They like to help each other out, drop a meme because we just have fun. You can join. We talk about stuff like this all the time, you know, no big deal, no drama, none of that. But other than that, y'all, that's gonna do it for me today, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.